I get my buttons or how I make my buttons. And you can do this in a lot of different things. You can do this in Google Drawings, Google Slides, Keynote, PowerPoint, Canva.com, like whatever you like to create in, you can use. I love Keynote personally. I'm just a big Keynote fan. If you're a Mac or app or iPad user, Keynote does a great job of this. So I've got this deck that I've already kind of created where I've just made a whole bunch of different buttons for all kinds of things that I've been using in some of the courses I've done. And I'm going to make these available for people to download and just make whatever they want in here. But to do it, what I did was I just did a file. I did a new Keynote document. I just chose a blank presentation. And I went in here to document, and I changed my slide size to a custom size. So this is really helpful if you are creating buttons. You want them to be smaller. You don't need these files to be like ginormous when you put them in Canvas because buttons are relatively tiny. So I did a custom slide size. I changed the pixels. These come up as points, which are equivalent to pixels, to 300 by 300 so that I can still even shrink them down further, because normally my buttons are anywhere between like 100 to 200 points or pixels in size. But if you wanted to do like a banner image or something like that, you can come in here and change your width to, whatever you want for your banner size. And you can always sort of increase those or shrink those down as needed in your course. You can make it as wide or as you want, whatever. So this is 1,000 by 250. Let's just see what that looks like. So that would be the banner that kind of looks like that. And then I just delete everything off the page and then come up here to my shape tool and just go crazy. And there's just tons of shapes that are already in here. So typically what I like to do is use like a rounded, like in my shape tool, to pick the rounded rectangle or the circle to make most of my buttons. But you could certainly do any number of things, and you don't even need like a shape. Like you could just pick a picture and just have words below it and let that be the button, right? Like so if I were creating a banner, I might put in some colors, maybe my Bitmoji, like whatever I kind of wanted to put in here to create something. Or I can just use text. I can just like type really large font. Let's see what 200 looks like on this. 150 maybe. And then what's nice about creating it in something like Keynote is you can use any fonts that you have installed on your computer already. So, if you wanted to be real fancy with your fonts, you can go crazy. But I like to just kind of pick some fonts that I have installed to make my banners look cool, because you're going to export these as images anyway, so it doesn't really matter what you use. All right, and then I maybe put a picture in the background or whatever. And just so you know, if you do create any kind of animations, if you animate anything on your Keynote slides, it is possible for you to export this to an animated GIF as well. And if you put those on your Canvas page, they will actually move and like be an animation that looks kind of neat. So you could certainly do that if you want to get really creative. But yeah, I love Keynote for designing buttons. And then when I'm done, I just go to File and I export it either as the GIF if I have animations or as images. And when you do images, you can even choose whether you want JPEG or PNG, and what slides you want to export as well. So they just will put them, when you do the export, it puts it in a folder and you can say where you want it to go on your computer. I will tell you that if you do want to do a PNG and you want to have a transparent background, you want to make sure that you set your background color to transparent. So if I go to my document, format, my background color is set to white right now, and I can pick, different background colors that I want to use that are kind of pre-built, or I can actually go to color fill and just pick the color wheel and pick any color that I want in here. Or I can say no fill at all, and it turns it black, but there's actually no color there. So when I export this, it would just say health if I were doing that. So I've done t-shirt designs in Keynote and exported those with transparent backgrounds so that the t-shirt company could put like words or whatever on a t-shirt. And I've done those designs in Keynote before and it worked out really well. So Anyway, that's basically how I create a Keynote deck to do different things. I even use Keynote to make images for Twitter or Facebook or different things as well. I don't know if I have those. Yeah, like my Twitter posts. I just already have these sort of pre-built and ready to go. And these three things have a transparent background, but these have stuff on them, and then I could put student pictures in here or whatever, and they're the perfect size. Let's see, document. It was a custom size just for Twitter that I did there. So that 1024 by 512 is usually a size that works really nicely for Twitter posts. So when I want to put something out for our school page on Twitter, I'll design it in here. I'll come up here to File. I'll export that as an image and just choose the one slide or whatever that I want. And then I've got a nice, perfectly sized custom image to put on my Twitter posts. So love Keynote for doing that. But even though I'm saying Keynote, you could certainly go to drawings.google.com and bummer. And you could create something in here as well. Those start out as transparent backgrounds, and you can go and do like a different page setup and set, again, a custom size if you wanted to do something, and you can change it from inches to points to pixels to centimeters, whatever you want in here, and create buttons that way. You just can't have a whole deck of them, which I kind of like doing in Keynote. But it could work, and you can, once you get your thing designed, you can download as JPEGs or PNGs or even SVGs, which are scalable vector graphics if you wanted to do that. So you got lots of options as far as like getting creative and creating buttons and things. I just tend to like to use Keynote just because it's my comfort zone, and I love the shapes that are already like here in the shape tool. There's just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of pre-built shapes that are just already there that work out really well. So I don't have to put lots of thought into it. I just need to decide on colors and fonts really, and then throw a shape in that makes sense. So I will tell you, you'll notice that on mine that my icons here have white backgrounds and they have a little bit of space around them, and I do that on purpose because whenever you upload your image into Canvas, it's helpful to like force a little white space around the buttons, and that's kind of why I do it in a Keynote deck, and I don't take screenshots because I want to make sure that I am leaving like the same amount of white space around all of my buttons at the same time. So that's just a pro tip, and why using like a deck, like a Google Slides or Keynote deck is a really good idea for creating things like that.